Hello friends, today we will do chapter number 5, Sorry Best Friend. They had just arrived in Bombay. The schools were still closed. So when Mummy began going to office, he stayed at home. Of course, Mummy was not happy to leave him alone, but what else she could do? After all, they had come to Bombay only so that she could go to office. And he also knew that for a long time after Papa's death, Mummy couldn't find any office to go to. Sonu explained to Mummy, "Look, I am not small anymore. I am 6. Mummy always said all sorts of things to him before leaving. Beta, don't open the door except for Bai. And when she knocks, first find out who it is. Don't turn on the gas. Be sure to have lunch on time." He would listen carefully to it all and nod. But he did feel terribly lonely. He watched TV for a while or read in the balcony and then eating and then sleeping. What else was there to do? All alone. A little after Mummy left, Bai would come, and when her work was finished, the door would close after her too. Everything was silent next door as well. The people who lived there also went away all day. When Mummy returned in the evening, she would take Sonu for a walk. One day Bai brought her little girl along. She said to her sternly, "Now stay there and not a word out of you." Bai began sweeping and swabbing. The little girl crouched in her corner, silent. She was terribly thin and not very clean. "What is your name?" The little girl only looked frightened. Bai scolded her. "Don't you hear? Baba wants to know your name. Tell him at once." "Rahman," she whispered. "Do you go to school?" She shook her head. "Why not? I will be going to school soon. A very big one." She only stared. Then Bai said, "How can she go to school, Baba? She does all the housework." "The housework? But she is still small." Sonu wanted to take her into his room and show her his toys and books, but she refused to budge. Finally, Sonu brought some of his playthings to where she sat. At least she looked at them then. When Bai was about to leave, Sonu said quickly, "Please bring her again tomorrow." Bai only smiled and went to the door. But Rahman turned back to look at Sonu. He waved. The door closed and Sonu ran to the balcony to say bye-bye. Rahman was looking up, but she didn't wave back. That evening, Sonu had so much to tell Mummy, and he said it all in one breath. Mummy looked at his excited face as if a new thought had come to her. On Sunday, when Mummy was home, she said something to Bai, and after that, Rahman came with her mother every day. Now she would come into his room and look at his toys and books. Sonu would tell her what was in the books, or they would play with the toys. Rahman began to arrive in clean clothes. At lunchtime, they would eat together. Bai would bring Rahman in the morning and only pick her up in the evening. Now the day flew by for Sonu, and what a lot he had to tell Mummy when she came home. Sonu and Rahiman would talk to each other for hours. He told her all his secrets, how he was going to be an engine driver, how his father had been the best in the world, and all about his lovely home in Delhi. Everything. Do you know, Mummy? I am Rahiman's best friend, he said. And when I become an engine driver, I am going to give her rides all the time. The holidays were almost over. On the first of the month, Mummy gave some money to Sonu as she was leaving. Keep this carefully. When Bai came, gave it to her. It's her salary. Then talking out some more, and this is Rahiman's. Why Rahiman's, Mummy? Why? Well, doesn't she come here every day to play with you? What? So she wasn't really his best friend? She didn't come because she liked him, but only for money? Sonu felt as if something had gone right from through him. When Rahiman arrived, Sonu said in an unfriendly way, "Take it, the money you earned." But it was Bai who quickly grabbed the money from his hand. That day Sonu did not speak to Rahiman. He went off with his books to his own corner, and when Rahiman playfully tried to snatch his book away, he flew at her. "Leave it alone. You can't read or write, stupid." Rahiman gazed at him with all her soul in her eyes. She said nothing. When Mummy came home in the evening, Sonu wouldn't speak to her either. The next day was Sunday, and Mummy had specially asked Rahiman to come on that day. She wanted to take both children to the beach because Sonu had to go back to school in a couple of days. Sonu was still angry. He walked ahead of Mummy and Rahiman without saying a word. There was a cool breeze blowing, and the waves roared in the background. What a lot of water, Sonu thought. The sand was shiny, and everywhere there were children playing in the sand. Some were making sand castles. "Go on. Why don't you make sand castles too?" said Mummy. Both children settled down on the sand and each began to make a separate castle. Soon Rahiman's castle was ready. It was beautiful, Sonu had to admit to himself, and strange. It had all kinds of shapes carved on it, big and small domes and arches. And as for his own castle, even the walls were not built yet. "Shabash, Rahiman, it's really lovely," said Mummy. Sonu's half-made castle remained unnoticed. "First, she takes our money," thought Sonu, "and then Mummy praises her, not me." His anger boiled over. He got up, ran towards Rahiman's castle and stamped on it. Rahiman gave a loud sob of surprise. Sonu felt dizzy with anger. He began to jump about on her house as if he had gone mad. There, there, there goes your beautiful house. See!" There was a fight, of course. The two children scratched and hit each other. Mummy pulled them apart. That evening, Mummy wouldn't talk to Sonu. The next morning, Sonu saw that she was in the same mood. When it was time to leave for the office, Mummy came to him and said, "I am going to Bai's house to tell her not to bring Rahiman here anymore. You are not her best friend. You are her enemy. When he heard Mummy's tone, the tears finally came. He was howling now, and Mummy was caressing him. Sonu, why did you behave so badly? And now Sonu began to shriek. I thought she was my best friend, but she only comes here for money. I want you to do one thing, Sonu. Come with me and see Rahiman's house. Sonu didn't understand what all this was about, but Mummy spoke in such a voice that he could not ask any questions, so he got ready to go with her. They went to a cluster of huts right at the end of their lane. It was terribly smelly. Everywhere he looked, there was garbage lying around in heaps. Crows pecked at it, stray dogs sniffed it, cats chased rats around it. There was a single water tap and a crowd of 30 or 40 women around it. Mummy stopped. Where is Rahiman's mother? She called to the woman. Bai suddenly came out of the crowd, looking amazed when she saw her man Sab. Where is Rahiman? Asked Mummy, and soon they were entering a tiny house. It was so dark inside that they could hardly see. Then they saw a small figure at the stove in the smoky corner. It was Rahiman, in torn, filthy clothes. She got up slowly and looked at Sonu. Her eyes were red. Rahiman, Sonu has come here to say that he's sorry. No, no, no. Where's the need for that? Bai quickly broke in. Children are always quarreling and making up. Nobody minds a few fights between friends, Bai, Mummy said. But when people start hating each other, it is just like poison. She looked at Rahman and said to Bai, from tomorrow, Sonu will be going to school. Rahman too can go now, can't she? Yes, Ma'am Saab. We will use the money you gave to buy books and get her uniform stitched. Sonu turned to Mummy. Mummy was smiling, her eyes on the little girl's face. Then Sonu went to Rahman. He put out his hand and touched her shoulder. And though he whispered, all of them could hear him say, sorry, best friend. Thank you, friends. Bye bye.